The Makhanda High Court has set aside for a review, for a decision by Minister of Energy and Minerals to grant Shell to conduct a seismic survey of the Wild Coast. Our reporter Lerato Fekisi is on the story. Let's cross to her now for more. Lerato, a good morning to you. What is the latest?
Well, a very good afternoon to you. Like you said earlier on, that the judge has set aside with review the case of the Wild Coast and the seismic survey being done there. Well, the Eastern Cape, many might know, is one of the most marine biodiverse coastal areas that we have in the country. And I think what was put forward by the judge was to say three things that came out from his judgment. One, that there was no proper environmental authorization granted to the Department of Mineral Resources to do the survey seismic within the Wild Coast. Secondly, also pointed out that many of the applicants had complained there was not enough public participation when this authorization was actually granted in 2014, and throughout the whole procedure, the applicants being fishermen, the applicants being environmentalists, the applicants being people that make use of the coast on the Wild Coast, they say not enough consultation was done with them as people that are benefiting from the ocean to do the survey, the seismic survey on the Wild Coast. And then thirdly, Advocate Toby also argued that the Department of Mineral and Resources did not give good timeframes to say that there's going to be job creation if this procedure does go forward. He argued that there was no actually proper map down done to say we're going to create this amount of jobs, and because that wasn't taken up properly, they felt that this seismic survey was not going to be conducive in terms of job creation in an area where people are depending on fishing in terms of job creation. But earlier on, I got to speak to Ricky Stone, who is from Cullinan and Associates, is representing some of the applicants. And this is what he's had to say in this clip that's going to play now about their victory at the Makhanda High Court this morning. Listen into this shortly.
Well, I'm feeling absolutely ecstatic. I think some of the emotions are largely still setting in. Being a son of the Eastern Cape myself, this is a very important case to be a part of. I'm very proud of all my clients and indeed the other applicants, the coastal communities. And look, this case was very important, particularly for the Eastern Cape. We have one of the most unique and biodiverse oceans on the planet, and I think it's a significant watershed moment, if I can call it that, to show that coastal communities and people who have these very deep and spiritual connections with the ocean and indeed use the ocean to sustain not only themselves, their families, many of them derive a livelihood from it. So aside from that and the importance of the ocean to the people of South Africa, and particularly the people of the Eastern Cape and the Wild Coast communities, this case also really has stripped bare the rather opaque and untransparent oil and gas industry, and particularly the position adopted by the Department of Mineral Resources, who gave no notification of a decision made in 2014. And now, today, the full bench in Makhanda have ruled and delivered a judgment which has set aside a decision made as long ago as 8 years because it was plainly unlawful. So it's a massive day, a huge victory for coastal communities and indeed for the whole of South Africa.
Well, as you heard there, that was Ricky Stone representing Cullinan Associates. I think something that he also touched on that I spoke to, also a fisherman, Ujo Mosono, who is coming from the Wild Coast. He said that to them, although he's a fisherman that also fishes on the Wild Coast and obviously happy about this judgment, he said that, you know, as an African man, the ocean is not just for fishing, but the ocean is also a place that's sacred and spiritual for them because, as you know, many of the people within the African setup believe that their ancestors reside in the ocean. So you are saying that not only as a fisherman will this seismic survey affect them in terms of their livelihood, but also as an African, because the ocean is also a form of connecting to their ancestors. So saying that this victory is good and exciting for fishermen, exciting for environmentalists. Also just saying that as someone who's an African who stays in the Wild Coast, who connects with his ancestors from the ocean, this is indeed a very, very huge celebration, a good victory for them also in terms of the spirituality of African people.
Yeah, Lerato, what are we expecting to happen next? Are we expecting that Shell could want to appeal? I mean, have you spoken to them, and what are we hearing from the department as well?
We spoke to the Department of Mineral and Energy, and they have said they will give us a response. They're just going to look for the judgment this afternoon and give us response at 2 o'clock. We also did give a call, and they just say that they're also going to respond. We're not too clear yet if they're going to appeal what happened in court this morning, but obviously we'll communicate that as and when they respond to us.